Good afternoon. I'm Howard Reed, Chair of the College Senate. If you haven't already, please take a moment to silence your cell phones. It is a pleasure to have this opportunity to introduce Buffalo State College President Aaron Podolefsky. As you know, Dr. Podolefsky previously served as the president of Central Missouri for 5 years and previously was the provost and vice president of academic affairs at the University of Northern Iowa for 7 years. In only a few short months, he has gone from being our new head administrator to being accepted as a welcome and integral part of this college community. He has embraced this campus's vision and values, yet has brought an original, vibrant perspective. His openness and upbeat attitude are universally appreciated. Obviously, this is a challenging time for the state and the college. As Dr. Podolefsky has made clear, this is also a time of great opportunity. Will you please join me in welcoming Dr. Podolefsky, who will deliver his first State of the College address.
Thank you, Howard, for that very, very kind introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Very good, thank you. I've learned that since coming to Buffalo. They always want to wait for a response. But good afternoon, everyone, students, faculty, staff, members of the College Council, foundation boards, and alumni boards. Welcome. I also want to welcome my wonderful wife, Ronnie, who I have to introduce, or I'll pay help for it later. This event is billed as a State of the College address, but how do you measure the state of a college? What are those things that indicate our health and well-being? Some might turn directly to the budget, assuming that the primary measure of the state of an organization is its fiscal position. And yes, certainly financial solvency is critically important. And we would be, frankly, happier if we were looking at double-digit increases in support of our mission and of our students, those young men and women who place their futures in our hands. Unfortunately, this is not the case, and we'll talk about that a little bit today. But I think the state of a college is much more than that. I think it's the heart that is the better indicator of our collective strength and our ability to face daunting futures with vigor and resourcefulness. During my first 7 months here as president of this institution, I've learned a great deal about the heart of Buffalo State and the people who make their lives here. And what I've seen makes me proud to stand before you today. We in this auditorium, the faculty, the staff, and students of Buffalo State, and our enthusiastic supporters, pursue a noble mission. Through our service, our teaching, our research, and our creative activities, by advising and feeding and housing, and in so many ways nurturing our students, by maintaining the fiscal plan in which we work and learn together, we create a welcoming environment and a place of endless opportunity. And because of that, we graduate men and women who are equipped to thrive in modern society and to change it for the better. At my inauguration in October, I spoke of Buffalo State as a community united by a common interest in learning, in scholarly research, and in creativity, in the world of ideas and in the world of service. I reflected on our public service mission and said that as a public university, Buffalo State has a public purpose. The public university is charged with educating students and serving the public interest. It provides an environment that inspires creativity, learning, scholarship, innovation, wisdom, and beauty, and service to the common good. Buffalo State, with its broad array of high-quality and distinctive academic programs, is an anchor institution that contributes mightily to Buffalo and Western New York's quality of life and cultural and economic well-being. Our educational mission calls on us to engage our students in ways that lead them to apprehend the world differently, to follow their intellectual curiosity, and to act with civic responsibility and ethical reflection. Our scholarly mission is to create new knowledge, new ways of knowing, and new applications of what we know for the benefit of humanity. Now, that's sometimes taken for granted in the discourse about higher education. Some people still believe that education is a matter of filling a bucket with information that can be spouted back on demand. But we who engage with young minds know it's not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire. As we feed that fire, our students grow in their ability to think reflectively and critically, to turn information into knowledge and into comprehension and into understanding. Now, one of my favorite descriptions of this emerging comprehension comes from the famous ethologist. That's a person who studies primates. You don't know ethologists? It's a famous ethologist, Franz de Waal's study of chimpanzees. In his book, Chimpanzee Politics, de Waal describes the perception of a novice, a student, observing primate behavior for the first time. And he tells us that for the first few weeks, they see nothing at all. They see chimps chaotically charging around their habitat, uttering ear-piercing screams. But when de Waal tries to offer even a fairly superficial summary of a simple interaction between the chimps, the new students don't see the pattern of behavior at all. But de Waal goes on to say, quote, "Everyone can look, but actually perceiving is something that has to be learned." This is constantly a recurring problem when new students arrive, he says, close quote. Of course, eventually they learn to see, to recognize the patterns that were there all the time. Perception and understanding are not innate or immediate. They come with immersion over time and in the right environment, with the right mentors. Perception and understanding, critical reflection, compassionate minds must be nurtured. Deep learning, the ability to recognize patterns and apparent chaos, cannot be easily understood or described. This is the type of learning that we promise our students at Buffalo State. This is the kind of learning that lasts a lifetime. And this is the type of learning that's needed for 21st century life. The beneficiary of the work that we do at Buffalo State is 21st century society writ large, not just the individual student. In these challenging times, where the support for any endeavor or organization is hard-won, it's vital that we keep in mind and help the public keep in mind that the role of the university is essential to a democratic society. Thomas Jefferson once said, quote, "If a nation expects to be ignorant and free in a state of civilization, it expects what never was and never will be," unquote. In a more recent year, a different American president, Bill Clinton, said that, quote, "Where nations once measured their strength by the size of their armies and arsenals, in the world of the future, knowledge will matter most," unquote. Today, it's undeniable that higher education is the economic engine of the 21st century and a safeguard for democracy. But despite everybody's awareness that higher education is critical to the future, the support that we need to make higher education quality accessible to people of all backgrounds is quickly disappearing. Frankly, I had hoped never to again find us in this situation, though I knew that when I accepted responsibility for leading Buffalo State, that there would be difficult times ahead. Like you, I'm passionate about higher education, what we do for our students by creating educational environments and what we offer society through the research, scholarship, and creative activities of our colleagues is unmeasurable. Colleges and universities, to me, are the cathedrals of the mind and the creators of the future. For decades, there's been a covenant between the states and the people to provide quality, accessible higher education through the state's public universities. But this covenant between the states and the present and future generations has been broken. This campus has been subjected to a series of budget cuts over the past several years. In 1990, 55% of our state purpose budget came from tax support. Today, that figure stands at only about 30%. My job, as I see it, is to protect and preserve our mission and our people. Shortly after I arrived on this campus this summer, our budget was cut by $870,000. Trouble enough. But I had not really been aware, which is a good warning, that we were already carrying forward a $5.5 million structural deficit. That made the total gap of $6.4 million. And that was after the previous year's 3.5% or $3 million across-the-board cut. The governor's recent message reduced our budget by another approximately $2.7 million and possibly more, which creates a total budget cap of $9.1 million. We've gone from having a big problem to having a very big problem. These are uncertain times, and it would be easy to become cynical. But instead, I think I'm going to offer you a line from one of my favorite authors, Lewis Carroll. And through the looking glass, the Red Queen says, "Here, you see, it takes all the running you can do to keep in place. If you want to get somewhere else, you must run at least twice as fast as that." I would say we need not run twice as fast, but we darn well better run twice as smart. The antidote to cynicism is positive thinking and positive action. This will be no walk in the park. As much as we may feel we're in some topsy-turvy wonderland, we are in the real world, crazy as it can be. Difficult decisions will need to be made, decisions that possibly none of us will like. But we will have three guiding principles: protecting our core mission and our mission-critical programs and activities, and protecting our people. We have a process in place, and we'll continue to follow that process, as it was set out last December. Already, we're seeing many good ideas come forward from our colleagues across campus, and some examples include increasing the net revenue from summer school education, increasing the revenue by decoupling intersession from spring semester, expanding the use of campus facilities in the summer and for other times for revenue generation through creative and innovative summer programming. Reorganizing or reconfiguring programs, departments, offices, schools. Assuring the best use of personnel and streamlining work processes. And increasing philanthropy. There are many other good ideas. Some are well suited for the short run, but not wise over the long run. And some changes may produce results in the long term, but don't produce the kind of immediate savings or new revenue streams that we need today. Whatever course we choose, our goal is a better, high-quality Buffalo State. Even though these are challenging times, there are always opportunities. During my interview last year with Chancellor Zimpher, I was inspired by her vision of the State University of New York and her tenacity. Stated simply, she believes that our institutions are the anchors to their communities on our fundamental drivers of the quality of life and of economic well-being, and I agree with her completely. Our destiny as a public institution is utterly entwined with the destiny of New York State as a whole. SUNY has a new strategic plan to guide it the next few years, and so does Buffalo State. And these are good plans, and they coincide in meaningful ways with each other. The success of SUNY and New York State is our success, and vice versa. And as we work to ensure the economic health of our state, we're, of course, working to ensure the well-being of Buffalo State. Governor Cuomo understands the important role of higher education building the economy of New York, and Chancellor Zimpher has committed the system to being part of that solution. And this offers us three opportunities. Opportunity one has to do with the education pipeline. Now, there is much talk these days about the national crisis in K-12 education. The U.S. is 20th in high school completion rate among the industrialized nations. 78% of high school graduates do not meet the readiness benchmark for one or more entry-level college courses in math, science, reading, and English. The World Economic Forum ranks the U.S. 48th in the quality of mathematics and science education. 69% of U.S. public schools in 5th through 8th grade, students are taught by a teacher, a math teacher, without a degree or certification in math. 93% of U.S. public school students in 5th to 8th grades are taught physical science by a teacher without a certificate or degree in the physical sciences. Just recently, the New York Times reported that fewer than half of the students who graduate from New York State high schools are prepared for higher education. And that figure is even lower in urban areas. One of the big six ideas in the SUNY strategic plan is called the education pipeline. And the Chancellor asked that I, along with Johanna Duncan-Fortier, who serves as Chancellor's deputy for the education pipeline and also SUNY Vice Chancellor for Community Colleges, co-chair of this implementation team. And there are three strands in that effort. First, improving teacher education programs through clinically rich experiences. Second, cradle-to-career networks. And third, what's called SUNY Works. This system-wide effort provides a platform that will help us take our strong education efforts to the next level. Based on our traditional mission in teacher preparation, our urban location, and our history of excellence in preparing large numbers of quality teachers, we are ideally situated to take a leadership role. If not us, who? And if not now, when? Buffalo State's already ahead of the curve in clinically rich experiences. And SUNY is just, in addition, has just approved, and the Chancellor has recommended new clinically rich math and science programs at Buffalo State for urban teachers. Similarly, we're ahead of the curve in building a cradle-to-career network in Buffalo. The fundamental idea is to create a broad-based community network that works with teachers and supports students staying in school and doing well. With our expansive efforts working with local communities, we already have a foundation on which to build. We should look towards a West Side initiative that, in collaboration with our neighbors, builds on existing efforts as well as playing a significant role in a broader effort across Buffalo. A number of our colleagues are already hard at work on the Cradle to Career Network, and there will be more to come on that issue over the next few months. Opportunity, too, is economic development. Last month, in her State of the University address, Chancellor Zimfer announced that SUNY would be a key player in the Governor and Lieutenant Governor's Regional Economic Development Plan. Buffalo State can and should, according to our strategic plan's strategic direction number 3, play an important role in helping develop the quality of life and economic well-being in Buffalo and Western New York. We are SUNY's only urban four-year college or university, and we should be and be known to be the college that serves the city. Over the last several months, I've talked to an incredible number of our colleagues who are active in helping launch businesses, support entrepreneurs, make Lake Erie a better habitat, work with neighborhood youth, and on and on and on. Not surprisingly, the work Buffalo State's people do in our community is far-ranging and deep. But individuals' efforts are often disconnected from others doing similar work. When I hosted a gathering of faculty and staff on the theme Buffalo State in the community, first of all, I had so many people want to come that I had to host 2 events. But I was blown away by how much we already do. But I noticed many of our people learning across the table for the first time about the efforts of their colleagues that they were not aware of, even when they were related to their own work. The first thing for Buffalo State to do to better serve our community is to create a network that brings our own people together so that the sum is greater than the parts. Organizing ourselves around the topic will make our efforts visible and will, I believe, lead to greater support and greater opportunities. I've asked Voldemar Innes on a temporary, part-time basis to help create a way to bring our efforts together. Opportunity 3 is about the arts. With the never-ending, it seems, stream of bad news about declining financial resources, it would be easy for all of us to lose enthusiasm for the work we do on this campus. There can seem, at times, little to sustain morale or spirit. It can be hard to feel as though you're receiving the nourishment that we need for our souls. Fortunately for us, Buffalo State has one particular resource that can supply this nourishment in abundance. And I'm speaking of our riches in the arts. Whether we're talking about plays or paintings, poems written by hand or art generated by computers, food design or fashion design, events at the Birchfield Penny or in Rockwell Hall, Buffalo State is a wonderfully diverse and creative environment, and the arts have a great history here, and they're thriving, thanks more to inspiration and determination than to monetary support. Our university is a beacon of artistic vitality at a time when too many of our neighbor cultural organizations are falling on hard times. The arts are something we do very well at Buffalo State. They're crucial to our mission as a public university. They're a source of pride as well as sustenance. And I believe this is the perfect time to highlight and celebrate the arts. And that is why, with Provost Ponton and Dean Christie, I've decided the 2011-12 academic year will be a year for the arts at Buffalo State. A year for the arts at Buffalo State will be about making connections and feeding the soul. We'll seek to involve every department, every program, and office. On this campus, recognize that there are arts in all we do, and talent beyond imagining to be found in the people who make their home here. We'll engage our neighbors in Buffalo's cultural corridor, and we'll seek to build on one another's strengths. We'll invite neighbors to participate and to find their own spiritual sustenance in our arts offerings. We'll reach out to alumni and to friends no longer living nearby and invite them back to Buffalo State to share their gifts and insights, letting the older generation inspire the younger, and vice versa. I can imagine poetry slams in the quad, dance in the Butler Library, pop-up galleries on the lawns, and much, much more. Only your imagination is the limit. I'll soon appoint a steering committee to lead the planning and execution of the year for the arts, and I can't wait to see what they come up with, because I know it's going to be great. Henry David Thoreau wrote in Walden that, quote, to affect the quality of the days, that's the highest of the arts. And in 2011 to 2012 academic year, I want to see Buffalo State affecting the quality of every day for the better and feeding the souls of its people and its neighbors with the bounty of offering in the arts. We may not be rich in funds, but our reserves of talent, inspiration, and ambition are endless. I've got high hopes for the Year of the Arts, and if it goes well, we'll start a tradition of identifying an annual focus for our energy and talents. So the big three ideas are, first, grow our efforts to support education in Buffalo and beyond by creating clinically rich teacher education programs and cradle-to-career networks that support our young people. Second, coordinate and expand our efforts to improve the quality of life through economic development and community outreach. And third, nurture the heart and soul of our campus and beyond by making next year the Year for the Arts at Buffalo State. Now, there is no doubt that this is going to be a year of challenge and opportunity, of change and affirmation. And we will work together with open and candid communication to achieve our goals. As I close, I have three charges for you for the year ahead. First, take responsibility. We must face today's challenges and opportunities together. Take personal responsibility beyond your individual job. Make innovation a way of life on this campus, and engage positively in dialogue about how to improve quality and reduce costs. Second, I challenge you to reaffirm the relationship between yourself and our students, both inside and outside the classroom. The success of our institution is measured ultimately by the success of our students and our contributions to the quality of life in our community. We must find ways to engage students who have learned to sit passively in front of their TV sets and computer screens. It's up to us to engage our students in gentle conversations as well as loud discourse. We must excite their imagination and engage their curiosity, and offer ever more hands-on learning opportunities that empower our students to turn ideas into action. we must risk caring about our students and our communities. And I challenge you to take that risk. My third challenge to you is to reaffirm Buffalo State's high standards of educational excellence. And I'm reminded of a former colleague who once said, I want to quote him, "There's a big difference between tuition and the price of a ticket." And what I believe he meant was that the charge buys the student the opportunity to work hard and to take this opportunity seriously. We must call upon students to stretch their minds and their talents. Mathematics is difficult. Economics is hard. Philosophy is complex. The subjects we teach are not easy, and they shouldn't be. To properly educate our students, we must challenge them with the uncommon, the unfamiliar, and the unknown. We must ask them to wrestle with difficult concepts, to stretch their minds, and help them develop the qualities we expect of a Buffalo State graduate. Our success, in the end, is our graduates' ability to analyze and integrate new information into conceptual frameworks, to appreciate the fine arts and humanities, to think critically and reflectively, to create knowledge from information, and occasionally wisdom from knowledge. And as I said earlier, to apprehend the world differently. We want our students to graduate saying for the rest of their lives that they have succeeded because of Buffalo State. So, my dear colleagues, as you go through this year, my hope is that you consider our common bonds and our common aspirations. Consider that we're quite privileged to make our lives in higher education, and that at this magnificent institution called Buffalo State, interacting each day with a diverse group of exceptional young people and with each other. Stroll past some open classrooms. Go sit in the Union or on a bench under a tree on this lovely campus. Walk by the art galleries right outside these doors. Attend a few lectures or theater performances. Go to athletic or cultural events. Wander through the Birchfield Penny and among the libraries and dust off a few of those old classics. In short, breathe in your university. It is a source of vitality that will renew your spirit and remind us of our common calling. Thank you for listening. I'd be happy to take any questions you might have, and our esteemed provost and our vice presidents are here in case you ask any hard ones. Yes, Sharon. Certainly. Well, as you know, we laid out a timeline that was published in the Morning Daily, and we are still sticking with that timeline. There was a meeting, today I believe was the target date for ideas to be forwarded. There was a meeting Friday of the College Planning Council Budget Group in which they're going to review a number of those ideas that have come forward. Within short order at that point, we will begin to make decisions. Once again, the largest challenge, we have many challenges. One of them is that there are a considerable number of open positions because the positions have been held up and we've had many retirements. And the thing is, the hardest part is to try to balance what we are able to do in the short run and what is smart to do in the long run. And we want to begin working on solutions that can create more efficiencies, more revenue streams, rather than simply going to as many cuts as we might have to go to. That will take some time. And I want to wait for this group to get these ideas together. As I said, I suspect we can enhance summer revenue. I know I've done that before, but it was not here, and there were different rules of the game. So there are a whole range of ideas, and we have to wait until we see where they come out. It's hard to get too far in front of the process. Sometimes you can do something that has unintended consequences, and we have to become kind of careful. Stan, do you remember the date by which we were going to publish sort of a first draft? I think March 10th. Okay, I believe that we're going to work with let me give you my view of something. The people that are charged with the responsibility for finally owning up to creating the final decision are those of us who have been charged with that responsibility by SUNY. And we can't delegate that. What we can look for is wisdom in helping us guide us. So we will be receiving all that wisdom. Thank you. We will be looking at best solutions. We will be working hard to get this done and have a draft proposal at some level of abstraction by March 10th, approximately. We will then publish it and give you an opportunity to comment back, whether we do that through email or whether we have a meeting and have people stand up and say whatever they're going to say. But then pretty soon after that, we'll try to make a final decision. We can then go on to the regular budget process. It's important to keep in mind what I wrote in that piece that was in the Daily, and I expressed this in it. As I said in here also, there are some things you can do in the short run, but you don't want that to be the final solution 2 years down the road. And there's certain things that you really want to do and accomplish, but that will take time. Increasing summer revenue, it may happen, but it may take a year or two. So what do we do in the meantime? And unfortunately, we've really come to the end of the opportunity to put off the inevitable. We have come to that end. Great job has been done in preparing for the ups and downs. This has just been a down that has kept going. And so at some point, and unfortunately, I happened to take the job when that point came, at some point you have to stop living on your savings account. And so that time has come, and we need to face up with it, and we will do so with focus on our core mission and what's called mission-critical things. For example, you can't turn the heat off, although somebody would like to tell us that's not part of our core mission. We'll focus on preserving the jobs for our people who are here, and many people retired or left or whatever, and so we'll try to work out making those things work right so we preserve our jobs, and we will focus on our core values. That's the best I can promise you at this point in time, Shannon. Yes. Yes, sir. Absolutely. And I have to also mention in that regard, I've never been a fan of things like furloughs. And I'll tell you why. They're only pushing the problem off to next year and hurting people in the meantime. Furloughs, those other sorts of things, you've got to distinguish just pushing the problem off to next year from dealing with it, because we've come to the end of the rope and we have to deal with it. I appreciate your recognition. We'll do everything we can. I have to tell you, I've been through this year after year after year, and it's always much trepidation, but I hope it will come out. I'm confident it will come out well in the end. I don't want to go through all my war stories. Although, if you've got a couple hours, come by the office. I could tell you about 3 budget cuts in a row one year in which we lost about $12 million one year. It was part of 4 years of budget cuts like that. But we worked smart, and we worked together, which I think is a really important thing. Just like my classes. Too often they were in rooms just like this. Most people sat in the back. Well, if you've got nothing to ask, I think there must be some things out there to feed the nourish more than the soul? And thank you very much for coming.